Shape of things to come. It's actually, I'm a pollster, and I actually commissioned a poll. You won't believe me because pollsters sometimes exaggerate, but I did. Because I wanted to update some of our tracking research to kind of give an overview to you on what's going on in our country. So my shape of things to come comes from a rear view mirror of looking back at what people have said. But still, I think, I hope it's going to be relevant. And I'm really honored to be here. Of course, I'm an author, whatever it is now, this 5, 6 books that I've done, and the one on baby boomers, which I end with amen. I hope it isn't the last book my kids say that you'll ever write, Dad. But so I'm looking forward to that coming out. And of course, I'm a guy who writes. You're people who read and are impresarios of those who read and who will buy my book for somebody this Christmas, because you're going to insist upon it when they come up to you and ask for advice on what's the nice thing they can do this year. Nearly 1 million persons with Chinese mother tongue. In our market research, it used to be generations or gender or other basis of segmenting people. Now we're doing a lot of research on the 2 large groups of South Asians and the Chinese, because the banks and everybody else wants these people as customers, and they want them as employees because employees must look like their customers. So that's actually the future of the kind of research we're doing. And again, think of the complexity, people from 200 different countries, different religions, and so on. So it's, as we often say to our clients, it's compliqué. It's a little complicated, but you have to do target marketing. And then you can see the other languages, 18 languages, 55 languages, 10,000 or more. Now you're in the library business, right? So that's really a challenge for you, is dealing with people of different linguistic backgrounds, doing your best, doing your utmost. You people, the hospitals, others, there is a big challenge for you all. Now, one of the ways is that you all can study Mandarin. It's going to be tough. Some of us are over the age of 3, so it's hard to learn another language and another alphabet. So maybe you ought to hire somebody who actually speaks one of the lingos. We'll get a geodemographic profile of your catchment area, find out what the language groups are, and have and make sure there's somebody there who can actually speak to people. It's a big challenge. It's a Canadian way of doing things, and that's what we're going to do. Libraries, hospitals, and there are a lot of other public institutions, and of course the private businesses. The banks are also going to want to do this sort of thing. So we have the most diverse population on the planet. We're aware we live in the best country of the world. We're aware of it, but we won't admit it. Because if we say it out loud, God will come and take it away. So you've got to be understated. Don't brag, or it'll be gone tomorrow. Canadians are aware we have dodged a great recession bullet and feel it's no time to go on a shopping spree. 1 in 4 homes in America is worth less than the mortgage on the home, okay? We're nowhere near that. Credit card debt, all of that. And of course, Prime Minister Harper brags about our banking system. We have been more prudent over time. We're like the squirrel who saved up the nuts in the winter and so on. So but we're also feeling it's not time to go shopping. Things are a little anxious in the United States. Let's just keep our cool. Canadians grumble about politicians, but generally like our political system. Again, they won't admit it over dinner or over a glass of Chardonnay or a beer, but in fact they think, the political system produces this great result. Probably we don't want to tamper too much with it. Canadians believe climate change is driven by human activity, and they think that there should be environmental initiatives. I don't know whether we're proud of being the people who got chosen 3 or 4 times in Copenhagen as like the biggest hypocrites on the planet. So this is one of the things that we're going to have to square. If we're going to be morally superior, we've got a conversation. I'm not going to say that this conversation should begin in Alberta, but it certainly should happen in Alberta, but it ought to happen right across the country. Canadians are less likely to believe crime is increasing and prefer crime prevention over enforcement and punishment. Kind of interesting. Canadians believe attitudes that government policies cause Aboriginal problems, but generally are not in a terrifically activist mood. We've apologized for the residential schools, but kind of feel that things are going in a good direction and that we're doing better than other countries on the Aboriginal file. Canadians remain open to immigration, but would like to see more evidence that new Canadians are adopting Canadian values such as gender equality. When the rubber hits the road, when in terms of Canadian values, when women are not being treated equally, that really gets us. It's very high up in the core values of Canadians. We want our daughters to do as well as our sons, and now, of course, now we want our sons to do as well as our daughters. But gender equality really is where, and religious patriarchy, I put those two words together, are something we really have trouble with. And that's one of those things where people coming to Canada, the equality of women, and it happens, by the way, one of the big indicators here, this is conclusions, and I'm off with some more facts. What women do with their bodies is kind of a big indicator of whether or not there's religious patriarchy or not. And what is a big indicator of what a woman does with her body? Does she have a kid? And it's interesting that immigrants to Canada have a fertility rate that is only slightly higher than the Canadian average, and that second-generation immigrant women have a fertility rate that's lower than the Canadian average, okay? So you want to talk about, so what they're wearing is one thing. What they're doing with their bodies, having kids, is another. So look at those fertility rates. I have the numbers if you're interested and want to use it in a lecture someday, but it's really astounding. And that's a real indicator of really what I think is going on with regard to social change. You've got 250,000 people coming, 1 million people every 4 or 5 years. To expect them to look and behave just like us in a second, give us a break. Look at how long it took other groups, 50 years, 75 years, to integrate into the Canadian society. And we're expecting people from around the world to do it at warp speed. We should relax a bit. It's happening rapidly. Our libraries, our schools, our public institutions are integrating people, maybe not warp speed, but boy, it's fast. And those kids, they're all learning from each other. There's too many races for racism. They're all like, where are you from? How do you do this? They're learning from each other. In our social values, we've gone from fearing the other, to tolerating the other, to savoring the other. We are actually interested in I know young kids, they don't want friends that are like them. That's boring. They want friends that are diverse. And diverse is really interesting these days. In my days, you fill out a questionnaire, at the end it was M or F. Now there are 9 categories, with my favorite being doubtful. And finally, Canadians prefer soft over hard power when it comes to international relations. That's where I've drawn my data from. That's it. An overview of Canada and public opinion. Thank you very much.